welcome back to the WTF Sunderland podcast after a mammoth first leg victory over Coventry City at the Jimmy Hill Arena. It's just half time, but there's plenty to get stuck into when we've got the whole crew with us because they all wanted to join in this morning. So joining me this morning in no particular order, first and foremost, is my favourite co-host, Dave Lawrence. Dave, how are you? You alright? Dave? Dave.
Absolutely murdered me because I wasn't expecting me to be first. So yeah, not bad at all. Still euphoric to say the very least. But it's only half time, isn't it?
Oh God, I know. Also joined by my least favourite co-host, Ross Black. How are you?
Honestly, just great to feel the love. I buzzing. Just couldn't believe we played 4-4-2. Still in awe, but I'm a visionary
Yes, at the moment.
at the moment. At half time.
At half time.
At half time.
Sophie, you're back with us. Sophie, how are you doing? You alright?
Yeah, I'm really good. I've got a voice of a teenage boy because I was screaming last night. I'm surprised my neighbours didn't call the police on me, but it's only half time. Big game to go on Tuesday.
I haven't seen you for, half the time this month, but how are you doing? You alright?
Yeah, similar to Reggie's setup for those games over the last bit. I've been not really present, but yeah, very much here right now. I'm determined to get through this without mentioning that it may be just the equivalent of the first 45, and there is the equivalent of another 45 to go. But overjoyed with what I saw last night. Very happy, very confident, looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I watched it in a pub in Glasgow last night, and look, it was class. It was brilliant. For some reason, there was about 30 of us, and we went absolutely nuts when Wilson scored, and when they equalised, like for some reason, everyone else in the pub decided to celebrate like they were Coventry fans. So you can imagine we quite enjoyed ourselves when Eliza did what he did.
That's got to be class when that happens. Mind, I did make a very bold claim that I was getting a Wilson Isidore tattoo after that first goal went in. I'm still. The thing is, I've woken up this morning and I'm still not essentially against it.
I know what Wilson Isidore tattooed on your face, like his face on your face.
Oh, double face. Yeah.
Pete, I'll stick with you since
All right, go on then.
we're chatting already. But look, I think it's what you would call if you're writing a match report, you'd say it was a resolute Sunderland defensive performance, 26% possession and all that sort of stuff. Stuff that doesn't matter outside of the who put the ball in the net and who didn't. But what did you make of the performance? Because it was different. I think it was purposefully different. But we went in like a 4-4-2, which you'd imagine would be one of those attack and let's just go for it formations, but it kind of wasn't. We effectively turned into Wycombe Wanderers as soon as we got in the playoffs. All these lovely short passes, and then we've gone right playoffs. Just hoof the cunt.
I'm sure Reggie doesn't put it exactly like that when he's talking to them. But
just
one of the things,
just hoof the cunt.
do you want to? One of the, I was specifically asked not to engage in any top shelf language when I spoke to one of my clients about doing this podcast. It's like, just try and go. Yeah, we don't mind. We like that you have like a hobby on the side, like a thing that you do on the side, and it's good that you're engaged and everything. We really like how passionate you're about it. But just like try and make sure you don't say anything that could come back on us. So yeah, cheers for that, Grim. Anyway, no, look, going into this, one of the things I was saying is it was my baby's birthday yesterday, so my mum and dad are over, and I was having a bit chat with me dad before the match, and we were saying,
Is Eliza Mayenda your baby?
Oh God, I wish. No, because my baby's a year old. So like, if she was the size of Eliza Mayenda, and that would be a bit weird. That would be a bit weird. It would be a bit weird if every morning I took Eliza Mayenda, changed his nappy, and then fed him some porridge. But Eli, if you score. If you get Sunderland promoted to the Premier League, I will say this right here, right now on the WTF podcast. I will promise you 1 week of that service should you want it. There you go. That is a cast iron guarantee. You may have to come to Berlin to have it redeemed. No, what I was saying to me dad is I hope that Reggie is as smart as he's convinced me he is, and that's the performance. I know resolute's a great word to use, professional, business like, all of these type of things. But it was smart how he set up. I would say it was professional in how they set up. They set up with a plan, and even though after the first 6 minutes, was a little bit nervous, a little bit dicey. And there was that incident where Patterson came and didn't come and came and then didn't come and then eventually came again and then flapped at it a little bit, but it was sorted out. Mind, I thought he had a great game after that. But yeah, and I thought it was a really, really professional, intelligent, smart performance. It must feel great when you are Reggie Slabreeze and you have a plan going into this and you see it come out. You know, the look on the lad's face, the passion he was showing. Love to see it. Absolutely love it.
It was like the only way I could describe it was like watching a librarian when someone actually returns the book.
Yes.
Come on!
The book that he's been looking for. The book that he's been looking for the whole career. It was checked out in the mid-80s, and he finally tracks it down.
Yes, the signed copy of the Bible. Come on, Ross. Please save us from this chaos. You said 4-4-2 at the time. You kind of said it half jokingly, half serious, because I think naturally, and I think Reggie Stephen admitted to it yesterday, you do lose a little bit of control in the middle. I said I just don't want to see Enzo on the wing. Enzo was on the wing, but there's not much I can really complain about, to be honest. I'd rather have won like 5-0 and everything was free flowing and wonderful. But like, what did you make of the setup in the starting 11?
Yeah, I think the one thing was obviously we weren't sure if Ballard was going to come in for and who for. But I tell you what, he got that absolutely spot on, because what an absolute colossal performance that was. I'd say that's Dan Ballard's best performance in the red and white shirt. Just makes you wish that he was fit for longer during the season, because when he's on it and he's like that, he's probably the best defender in the league. Let's be honest, but he just can't stay fit for long periods of time. But he's outstanding. When I seen the lineup, I was like, surely Wilson or Mayenda's on the wing. Surely we're not actually going to risk it and just go balls to the wall 4-4-2. But that's why I sit here and pay to watch it, and people are paid to put the team out. You could tell it was a method they'd worked on for how long they'd been working on it. 6 weeks by the looks of it, because they did fuck all else on the pitch. But yeah, it was brilliant to see how we had it was risky, don't get us wrong. If we get beat 1 or 2-0 there, everybody turns around and goes, well, like, it's negative, it's pathetic, that's why we've done it and we've been killed in midfield. But the lads on the pitch predominantly did really well. Of course, would be naive to think that we didn't get a bit of luck on the way with a goal. But that comes from my end of being there, pressing high.
There's a lot to do for my ender, by the way, with that goal. Like, don't get me wrong, like the right back, a great assist from the right back, but there's a hell of a lot for him to do. Like, when he got the ball, I was like, oh my God, go on. But then it was also like, oh, there's a lot to do here. But what he did was just, can I just point out as well, like, I hate doing this because I've been wrong with stuff as well. But I tell you about my ender. I tell everyone about my ender. Like, after Blackburn and Stoke, and everyone's like, oh, he's crap. Like, someone's like, oh, he's League One striker. He's not. The kid's got so much talent. And, like, he's cool as fridges, man. Cool as fridges. Like, the celebration afterwards was just like, yeah.
Anyone who knows you knows that you don't hate to do that, and you are absolutely reveling in that comment.
There's many things I've been wrong with, and I'm sure you can clip it up and find it.
The one thing as well I think we need to point out is Enzo did play on the left, and I think other than the goal we conceded, which he was skinned, let's be honest, for the cross, and that's my only gripe, which I'll come on to for the second leg. But when he's in the middle, that ball through for Wilson, that's what we're missing. Even if Mundell's got one leg, I think you play him, you know.
I think even if you put Reggie on the right and Roberts on the left, I think Enzo, like, we'll get onto it because people have asked what we'll do, but yeah, man, that pass from Enzo was just, that's what you've been looking for such a long time.
Definitely. And how good was it to see Wilson with a smile on his face again? It's been a while. Lovely little Wilson, you know. To be fair, it's quite ironic that his last goal was Leeds away. And somebody mentioned on the commentary that was probably the last time we had belief that it was anything other than the playoffs. So has Wilson just thought, I'm just going to have some time off and just play in the games that mean something? And if so, brilliant. But I delighted with it. And beyond my expectations, because as much as we're all like, yeah, you know, we can flick the switch on, a lot of my mind was going, I don't think we can, but I'm going to be proven wrong for the first leg. And it was a pleasant surprise to see us dig in, defend like that after the way we defended lately, and play with the intensity that we did. And let's just hope we can continue on the second leg.
Yeah, absolutely. Sophie, great win. Just a really good win. We're going to be saying this multiple times. It's basically half time, but ultimately we're here to discuss the game where we won 2-1. And just, it was a different performance. But what did you make of the performance? Obviously, it won, but what did you make of the performance? Because it was a bit different what we've come to expect, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It was a performance, I think, where everybody had their jobs.
Hmm.
Everybody. And I didn't think that there was one player on the pitch who didn't do that, because we've seen it before, particularly at the start of the season. What we've learnt Reggie's teams to be about is about working hard. It's about running, that we attack in numbers, but we also defend in numbers, that we're compact and we're organised. And yeah, maybe we lost that towards the end of the season. Bit of complacency. We knew we were in the playoffs. But I think that was a proper Reggie masterclass. I think that he outthought Lampard. I don't think that Lampard thought we were going to go there and play like that. And obviously, it's worked a treat. Of course, the goals were incredible. And when we did break, I thought we looked dangerous. We looked a real threat. Of course, they had the ball majority of the time, but I don't think possession means anything, particularly with Reggie's teams. They don't mean anything. It's about what you do with the ball when you've got it. So, but it sets us up perfectly, because they're going to have to come at us at our own ground. It's going to create the space in behind for the likes of hopefully Mundell, Mayenda, Wilson, Enzo, to kind of siege at them, and hopefully we can sucker punch them. But it was a fantastic group performance.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying about everyone defending and attacking in the same, like in numbers, because there was points when there's a lad I was watching the game with yesterday, Phil, who runs the Scotland branch, and he was like, "Oh, why is like Wilson and why is my ender so deep?" And it was like, I think that's intentional. I think when we break, you want five, six, seven players on the break, and then people like human that gets quite high up when we break and when we attack. But when we were defending, it wasn't 11 men behind the ball, but it was everyone knowing their jobs, everyone knowing their man, and everyone like putting the shift in. And I think talk about flipping a switch. And whilst maybe the performance wasn't like the best performance ever, it wasn't free flowing, wonderful football where we hammered someone. How much would you agree with the statement that at least in last night's game, we talked about flipping the switch, the mentality switched, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You can see the hunger in the faces. I thought that when I saw videos of them going in, I thought they don't look like the hair there, the happy. It was game faces on. And I think it was Luke O'Nien said, the privilege to play with pressure. And I think that is a very important message. And I think we've got to believe that Reggie has been, although the past, five losses, whatever, of course, for us as fans, I think you've said it before, Graham, about we want to feel the form, we want to feel the momentum. But, they've known their jobs. They know that this is the time. And I think that he's just got them right up for it. I think the preparation's been key.
I think if he wanted, like, if Reggie Slibreese's plan was literally to lose 5 games, right, and to like proper knock the stuffing out of us, to knock everyone off kilter, you couldn't have chose a better club to self-implode, even though they finished fourth. He's like sat there going, they'll be raging if we lose 5 games, and then I just tell the lads to lose the games. Everyone will be really sad. I'll get asked to be sacked. And then we'll just turn it on and everyone will be dead happy and it'll be really funny. So yeah, so far so good. And I hope I hope I get to praise him afterwards. But Pete, I'll come back to you. Look, I normally say who was the best player, who stood out, who's the one that stood out for you. I think there was a lot of good performances yesterday, a lot of workmanlike performances. But Dan Ballard for me put in not just one of his best performances, like Ross said before. I think Dan Ballard put in one of the best performances we've seen all season. When he's barely played, it really mattered. He won every aerial duel last night. Statistically, he won every aerial duel. Like the what was it? The Cajones are big with this one.
Cojones.
Cajones. I did that. I'm Spanish.
No, I'm from Hetton, but at least, I can put a bit of effort in. Me habla español bastante bien.
Ah,
The
hey.
In your face. No, right, Dan Ballard. Let's not talk about my dubious linguistic abilities. Dan Ballard is off last night's performance, first name on that team sheet for me, because that was really, really impressive. The amount of the blocks that were put in at the right time, I think it was 20 blocks he put in that match. Every single thing he attempted, he pulled off. Aerially, absolutely dominant. I mean, he did get a overhand right in the back of the head from Pato at one point.
He even blocked one of our shots because that Job shot was going in. It was like, Ballard, stop blocking things.
You tear him in his massive backside, but then I had a look at it and it didn't. It hit him in the other side. Look, it's. I thought he was absolutely imperious, and as much as I've enjoyed him this season, and as much as I've really, I do think he's a class act defender. I think he has to be in there, apart from instead of Chris Mepham at the moment. Certainly for these games, he's made himself invaluable into the squad, and to have the ability to be able to bring a player like Chris Mepham off the bench. I mean, that's a massive privilege. Just go touch on something Sophie mentioned before about the whole Luke O'Nien and what he's had to say about things. Did you hear his interview straight after the match? The lad sounds like a football manager. He sounds like a coach that's been coaching for 100 games already when you hear him speak like that. First time I've really noticed that about Luke. I was really impressed with Dan Ballard. I think hell of a footballer there. Really glad that he's under the contract with us, and I'd certainly agree it was his best performance in a red and white shirt.
I don't want to brag or anything, but I was someone who said about if you take anyone out, everyone's saying, "Oh, you play your best two centre halves, Mepham and Ballard." The best two centre halves are not Mepham and Ballard.
Yeah, I've been guilty. I was guilty of that same thing, Graham. I mean, I was saying earlier in the season, much as I love Luke O'Nien, my biggest problem was where to put him in the team. I mean, now I'm completely sorted with that. I know where Luke O'Nien goes in my team. He goes in my team as a centre half on the left side and able to play that. I mean, as I've talked about it before in here, I love his range of passing as a defender, and I love his intelligence that he shows on the pitch. Mind, doesn't mean that he doesn't drive us absolutely nuts when the camera pans to a replay and it shows he's got his hands around somebody's neck in a corner.
He's not wedging anyone.
Well, at least he's not wedging anybody. But especially when the referee's looking at it so much, I'm like, Luke, get your hands like that. But never mind. So, no, love Luke O'Nien, love Dan Ballard. Want to see those two pairing up against Coventry and then ideally in the final.
Ballard's stats from last night, just for clarity, it was 2 blocks.
Two. What was 20? Was it 20 aerial duels or something?
20 clearance. So 2 blocks.
20 clearances.
20 clearances, 18 headed clearances, 2 recoveries. Won 2 out of 2 ground duels 100%. He won 9 out of 9 aerial duels 100%. So he didn't lose a duel in the entire game.
Forget about but have you seen the size of him? Also, there was one where he got was it when he got a bit of cramp or something and he was getting pulled up. I mean, the work that lad must be doing in the gym, because when they pulled him up, his arms tense up and all the muscles go. It was like he was carved from marble, so it was. I was absolutely, when you see something, you're like, oh, dear me, but make a point about that. He's an absolute physical beast, and I love that he's ours.
Tell you what else I liked about last night as well. There was 2 moments in the first half. Trey Hume going for Hadji, right? Like that. And Mayenda went for one of their players because he was pulling his shirt. There was a few people around me watching it was saying, oh, calm down. And
I love that.
Like, this is going to be Ching, the time I interviewed Lee Cattermole. And he talked about when he took out Tiote at St James's and everyone was like, Martin O'Neill was shouting at him and saying like, calm him, telling Bardo to calm him down and all that kind of stuff. And he went, I was the calmest player on the pitch. He's like, because we'd lost the last game heavily against that lot. And he went, and I knew I had to be like, if you're going to win this, you're not bullying us to the win like you did last time. You're in for a game here. And I remember Ching interviewing Kevin Ball, and he talked about the one when Jermaine Defoe scored the lob, and he said, "Do you know what set the tone for that game?" And I was like, "It was a nice sunny day. We felt up for it. We'd won the last few." And he went, "No. Jody Gomez thunders into a tackle in the first couple of minutes and takes one of their midfielders out. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Gutierrez, actually, Spider-Man or whatever he was called." And he said, people went, "Oh, hang on a minute, like." If Jody Gomez is up for this, the Barcelona Academy star, and if he's belting into him, and I felt like the 2 little sparks, like a couple of tackles from Trey went in, and then a little bit of like afters, and I was like, yeah, that's what you want, because you're not winning this one 3-0, by the way, and I think also, that was imperative.
Both of those points, if you look at the body language of how they faced up to those players, there was zero fear. It was all very calm, collected, and kind of terrifyingly Ulster from Trey, and then equally terrifyingly, you don't know who the hell I am from Eli. Whereas he just stared back at him. I was thinking, all right, I'm happy with that. I like a bit of that needle. I also like there was a one from Wilson earlier on where he threw a really dramatic point directly in the face of the player who. I think Wilson Isidore needs to play a musketeer at some point. I want it to be Sky in the 90s and them to have that type of budget where, you know, they would do these daft little things on a Super Sunday and just have Wilson Isidore dressed up as a musketeer. I think he'd look fantastic in the costume.
He's a good looking man.
He's a very good looking man. Sorry, I know I keep drifting on to nonsense, but that's kind of the jovial mood I'm in. But it's look. I fully agree. I love to see the passion that they got from the lads last night. I thought everybody, I mean, look, it also come across in when Joe put in that amazing tackle that I hope we are going to come to at some point. His reaction afterwards, I'm not usually a massive fan of cheering a tackle. I think it can look a little bit weird, a little bit off. We're not Americans. It's not American football. It's not like let's go defense and all that. But like, it's, there's times and places for it, and that was the time and that was the place. Like, so
I liked it. It was because it was the next question. I think we would be having a very different podcast this morning and a very different. Pardon me. My thoughts gone a bit as well. I think it would be having a different conversation, and it would feel a bit different going into the second leg if Hadji Wright, which he probably should have done in all circumstances, Ross, puts that ball in the bottom corner, they equalise in injury time on 90 minutes. Job's tackle, not just how good the tackle was, the calmness of it, when he's quite clearly fired up. Look, I don't think we need to preach to the choir here with Sunderland fans about the talent Job has. But over the two ties, if we come out successfully from this and navigate away to Wembley, how big was that moment?
Aye, absolutely massive. And I think last night showed to probably anyone else who doesn't support Sunderland why he's so highly rated, because we all know he's got the power, he can score screamers. He showed that last year. This year he's had to play probably a bit more of a conservative role as a midfielder. And the things he has improved on is his defensive work. Like last season he would have been nowhere near that. This year he's there, he's on it, he read the run, he knew where to put his foot in. And he just loves a slide tackle, doesn't he? He's one of them. It's like him and Trey have just been working on slide tackles for the last 6 weeks. They were just flying in everything. To be fair as well, we mentioned Job getting his foot in, and I know it's going a bit off what we're talking about with Job, but Paddy Roberts got slated because, being honest, he was probably our worst attacking output last night.
Yeah.
But what he did do was he helped on that left wing with Hadji Wright. He kept him basically quiet all game with Trey, and he put in some fantastic tackles and blocks.
There was a great tackle he put in on Hadji Wright, and I always talk about Paddy with that. People always he was poor going forward yesterday, Pat. But the conversation around Patrick Roberts is always, well, he doesn't get enough goals and he doesn't get enough assists. Now he's one of our highest goal contributors, so you can debate that. Should he have more? And I'm happy to have that debate. What people miss with Patrick is how much he actually helps out defensively. And he's a tiny lad. He's clearly not grew up to be like, I love defending. He would never celebrate a tackle. Do you know what I mean? But I agree with you on Patrick. People miss those little things about Patrick and what he does. Not off the ball, because obviously it's a tackle, but his defensive work is, he puts in a shift every time, even when it's not going for him in the bits of the game that you want him to be more explosive with.
Yeah, 100%. And it kind of epitomised the whole team performance. Everybody put a shift in, did the defensive work. The only gripe I had really was, I think, it's things we can improve on the second leg is, I actually think the front two can defend a bit higher and stop off the passing lanes a bit better. I know that's, oh God, some people will be listening to that, who the fuck does he think he is? But it is true, like, to stop the ball into the middle, because sometimes they just play it straight through us, especially when Radoni got in the 10, as they call it these days.
Good player, Radoni, as well, to be fair. Like I know people are annoyed at Lefebvre, or kind of criticised Lefebvre for the goal, and yeah, he was done a bit, because I think that Sakamoto was a good player as well, but I thought their goal that they scored was actually just a good goal.
It is part of the problem, though. I mentioned this on my Twitter last night. We've conceded so many goals from crosses that are just unopposed. we've got to stop them crossing the ball in because they score so many goals from the crosses from deep, especially, and too many times. I know it was probably fatigue, but the last 10 minutes, especially, they would just basically had a free cross every time, and we've just got to make it harder for them. If they get the ball in after the skin you and just go ahead, you've just got to go fair play. It's a good goal, a bit like LaFay's, but too many times. Yeah, I don't want to be negative, but it's still a long way to go, and we've got to make sure, like you say, press a bit higher, stop them playing in the midfield, and also when they get out wide, stopping the cross. Just little basics, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I was at the Leeds game and I think Lefay struggled with Jaden Bogle. I think Lefay's clearly not a left winger, but like he gets in the middle and he puts on passes that he's done, and like I think it's the second time he's done that for Wilson if you go back to Borough as well. But Dave, I've left this question for you before we go into listeners' questions. Big win, massive win, Dave, but it's half time. How important is it that I don't want the fans to keep their heads. I want us to be raucous on Tuesday, go in with confidence, have overconfidence if you want, just get behind them, like make it an atmosphere that if we do lose, it's not because we haven't been up for it. But how important is it that the lads keep their heads because the second leg's far from done and dusted? Look, we were 2-0 up against Coventry earlier in the season and they pulled it back. So we know they've got quality. We know they've got good players. Rudoni, Sakamoto, Haji Wright have all damaged teams and us this season. How important is it that we go, okay, that one ticked off. It's a big step forward, but there's a big 90 minutes, potentially more to go.
Absolute. Excuse me. Absolutely. We'd said it when we interviewed Corey the other day, or I certainly said it towards the end. We needed to go back home with something to fight for. Jesus, we've got more than something to fight for. They've put themselves in a position which 40 years of history tells you we probably wouldn't have been in. We'd have probably, before the game, took a 1-0 defeat. A 1-1 would have been immense. To have come away with a 2-1 win, those boys had belief before. We mentioned it. I think me and Pete were quite forceful in our opinion at the beginning of the season when everything was going really well about how articulate we thought Reggie Lebris was. And that's very, very evident. We had a flick through the Sky interviews last night and we saw a few winks and a few wry smiles from Lebris. He's cool and calm as a cucumber, isn't he? And same with Isidore with his finish yesterday. There's almost a touch of French culture that comes from them, which us Brits at times could probably do with taking a little bit of heed from, really.
A je ne sais quoi, would you say, Dave?
Very much. What is the French for vavavoom, Pete?
I don't know, Bobby.
It's great, and who was it? It was Wilder who said against Bristol City the other day, going to Ashton Gate, the crowd will be vociferous. There's a word for you. If he thinks that was vociferous, tune into Stadium of Light on Tuesday night because my God, that place will be immense. I'm very jealous that I can't get up from the Cotswolds. I'll have to watch it from my iPad in the kitchen, but I swear to God, there'll be just as much noise from that kitchen as there is up there. I get shivers from thinking about that Ross Stewart goal. My God, just imagine in the first 10, 15 minutes we managed to get one by hook, by crook, whatever it is, off Trey Hume's mullet. I don't care.
Just to point out as well, and this is just tempering expectations, it's possible that they get an early goal. Don't let that, if it does happen, don't let that change how you feel. Don't let it affect you. No matter what happens, just get behind them, stay behind them. And I'm not here to tell you how to support your football club. Do it the way you want to do it. But I've always felt we're better together. Oh God, that sounds like going into a Brexit conversation. That's going political, isn't it? I think when one of the big things that I found about Reggie Lebris I've always said when it comes to when we've had manager conversations on here, and we've had a few managerial changes since this podcast started. I've always said, oh, you need someone who's like got a bit about them. Peter Reid, Allardyce, Mick McCarthy, Roy Keane, they've always had a bit something about them. Regis Lebris is defying the belief that you need a big, massive character. He's just like a French librarian, and it's
Oh,
fine.
I'm not sure. Did you see the way that he celebrated them 2 goals?
Yeah, but it's nowhere near the names I
I
mentioned
think
before.
I think
It's
still waters run deep, Graham.
yeah, it's
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot behind the scenes that might go on with that boy. There's definitely because they weren't shocked. They weren't shocked to see him. They weren't shocked to see him. They weren't shocked to see him shouting and screaming the way he was. So I think he might have a bit of that in the locker.
Sophie, listeners' questions. I think I've probably got to ask everyone this to be fair, but we'll come to you first. Do we play the same 11 and same formation on Tuesday? The argument would be obviously it sounds like Mundle and maybe Adji are going to be available as well, so you've got more to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, my thought would be to play Mundo. I think that in terms of attack and output, it would, I would say, would stretch them a little bit more. And then that's up to the manager to decide whether he goes with Wilson or Mayenda. But I think for the physicality aspect, he could just. My personally, I would play Wilson just for the defensive proposition as well. So, but I don't think that he'll do that. I think he might play more of the same.
Hmm.
I think it's just because they've got to come at us, and it might work better for us to keep with the two up top. That's what I think he'll do.
I I agree. I think that's what he'll do. I don't think he'll change it. If it's up to me, I'm changing the formation. I'm going 4-5-1 or the five in midfield. The reason I'm doing that is to get Enzo in the middle. I think it's a risk to play Mundle because he's clearly not match fit. He's clearly had a hamstring injury, which is just it's already flared at once. But I think you get a bit more balance, you get a bit more speed on the break, and it gets you Enzo in the middle. And then I think you've got Job, Dan Neil, and Enzo in the middle, who are all very, very good in transition. And when they're coming at us, you want people who can turn the game and turn the pitch around. I oh I go my ender up top though. I feel so bad saying this, but there's an argument to say you could maybe even put my ender on the right and drop Roberts and bring in. It's a lovely set of options to have, but I would like more control in the midfield, and I would like Mundle in so we can accommodate three players in the middle who can turn the pitch around, which I think will be really important because they'll want to come at us and get a goal as early as possible. So we need to have this ability to turn it around. But Dave, I can see you off mute, which is unusual because you normally don't know where the mute button is. So I know you want to say something. So what?
I think it's 4-5-1. Personally, I'd put my ender out on the left. But I'm telling you now, if there is one person that I think will score for Sunderland, because I do believe Sunderland will score on Tuesday night, I'm telling you now, I will. I'll put 50 quid on it. I'll go online. Patrick Roberts scores on Tuesday night. I'm telling you. Absolutely nailed on. Guaranteed that bloke scores on Tuesday night.
Okay. If it's in his own net, I'm going to absolutely lynch you.
Yeah, well, at least I won't be wrong. I'll take it.
One of the questions here is how do we match Coventry's home atmosphere they had for tonight for our game back at the stadium? Like, sit in our hands. Um,
Not to be fair, they sang the same song for 80 minutes, the Samba Rhythm one, which was hilarious because when we went 2-1 up, we started singing that tune to them, and it just absolutely it was fucking brilliant.
I'm
So
not gonna
yeah,
lie. Look, this actually can't get egg on my face, and I think the atmosphere will be brilliant on Tuesday. It's been poor this season at points at the stadium, but I didn't think much of the atmosphere yesterday. I don't know if it was Sky. It sounded dubbed. It sounded dubbed. It didn't. I was expecting like quite a cauldron to an extent, as much as the CBS can be a cauldron, but it was a bit like when we went to Chef Wed in the playoffs and we got to talk about Fortress Hillsborough. To be fair, it kind of was, but I think you heard really early on, and both of those fixtures, Chef Wed 3 year ago yesterday, and Coventry, I think after the first 20 minutes when they hadn't scored early, you could hear a nervousness creep in. And I don't know if Coventry fans can disagree if they want. It's just an opinion. I'm not saying you're bad fans, and we all get nervous, and it's happened at Sunderland as well. But I don't want to say flat, but to me, it sounded nervous pretty early on.
Thought where we played stifled the atmosphere a bit
Hmm.
because they had to basically just keep the ball without doing much of it. And every time the ball was going like out of play for our goal kick, our throw, we did really well, just killing it off a bit. I think it was loud after they scored, momentum wise, and I think that we did have a bit of they had a bit of a spell, 5 minute spell, but it actually helped them. I think it was somebody went down injured, and it kind of like killed it a bit for another few
Wilson.
minutes. No, Patterson. Didn't Patterson go down as well?
Oh,
He got a foul,
Pato.
yeah.
I thought, by the way, I thought Pato was great last night.
Yeah,
We've
he had
given him stick.
if you take away the first 4 minutes, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
But that first 4 minutes when he came jumping out like a frog for no reason, I was like, oh, steady, steady. But yeah, I think we need to, like you say, it needs to be like Sheffield Wednesday at home, doesn't it? And Luton at home, that was brilliant as well. We've proved we can do it as a fan base before, and I genuinely think if we get an early goal, the roof will lift off. But yeah, but like you say, you were right about even if we concede, make sure that we don't just think, oh God, we're going to do a Sunderland. You need to just keep our heads. It's playoff football. A lot can happen. Just stick with them. I'm sure many will.
Do you know what it
But
is? I feel a little bit like we're telling fans how to support the club, which is not
we're
really
not.
not the case.
Yeah,
But
I know what you mean,
but
but I mean like as a whole, really, isn't it?
I don't think, to be honest, the more I think about it, the more this podcast has gone on. I don't think Sunderland fans need to be told what we need to bring on Tuesday. I think we'll just bring it. It's just the way we are. Like, I think the big thing I would say is we've had some lows. We've taken some hits over the years. We don't support this football club because it's easy. We never have. So if something does go against us, and I'm sure you will, but just remember how much character you built from watching years of shite and people that don't care and you Jack Rodwells and all that kind of stuff. I know it's oh well, at least it's not as bad as, but you've built a character. I've built, if you're anything like me anyway, you've built a character and you've stuck your chest out a bit and you say, yeah, I'm Sunderland, it is what it is. And if it goes my way, brilliant, I'm going to enjoy it. And if it don't, you know where I'm going to be in August? Stadium of Light. That's where I'm going to be and who I'm going to be supporting, Sunderland. If we win 100-0, if we lose 100-0, I'm Sunderland at the end of the day. And I'm really pleased and proud that I am. Enjoy it, embrace it, because it's a big game and it's what you watch football for. And if it comes out our way, just can't get pissed, you know. And that's the most important thing. Okay, I'll come off my soapbox. And there is a couple of good questions here. A lot of them are how would you set up and so on and so forth. We've kind of gone through that. I quite like this because you're going to get different answers. Because Sophie joined us a bit later, Pete joined us again at the start, and Dave and Ross are now very much old school. Just want to say, Graham, I like that he's just thanked me and nobody else. Thank you very much. I've loved the pod all season. Both old and new additions have been. Oh, how he's praising other people. Shit. Okay, fair enough. My question has been, what has been your favourite pod memory from this season? So we'll end on this. I think, for me, what will stick in my head from this season the most? I think probably the nervousness of me saying bring me the head of Coventry City from the minute I said it, and I'm still not sure if I'm going to be able to like not be nervous about it. But no matter what happens on Tuesday, that'll probably be the one thing that sticks in my head because it made me feel myself quite excited and calm for the playoffs that were coming up. I just kind of wanted whoever. I didn't care. Give us the toughest game and let's see where it goes. And if it works out, brilliant. If it don't, like I say, where am I going to be on in August? Stadium Light. Peter, it's been your first full season. What's been your... I think my favourite Peter moment from this season has been, oh, I don't really know if I like my ender.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been wrong on so many things, and do you know what? I will continue to be.
Yeah, me
That is
too.
what's going to happen. My favorite bit. I mean, look, I've had a great time. It's been brilliant. I've been lucky enough to do it from some fun places as well. But when I didn't get me Oasis tickets, and we just constantly pissed you off through the whole show by getting names of song titles in, I'm not even going to pretend that I didn't love that.
A
But
Wonderwall episode, some would say.
Hey, there we go. I'm not even going to do one. I'm not at all. I'm not. But the no, I would say the thing I've enjoyed the most is being able to see how little I know at all about football and how much I just genuinely enjoy it. That is the great thing, because the truth is, listeners, you may find that some of our contributors actually do know things about football, how tactics should be set up, and they're not just talking about wouldn't Wilson look fun dressed up as a musketeer. So it's been great for the likes of myself, who has absolutely zero knowledge about football but just really really likes it, to come on with some of you lot.
Sophie, I can't quite remember when you joined us. I want to say it was January, give or take. But I mean, you're probably going to end up thinking about leaving this podcast at the end because you can see we're all absolute idiots. But like, let's pretend that's not going to happen. What's been your favorite podcast memory?
No, I've loved being on. It's been amazing to talk with all of yous and
I'll pay you money
be,
later on for that. I'll give you 15 quid.
be a part of the group, be a part of the chaos. Because I think that's the best part about this
Mm.
podcast is the pure chaos of it. Particularly stuff that don't make it on because will get all cancelled forever. No, but you know what? My favourite would probably be, I think, my first time on Chin Up and Charge the Mountain. Because I
Yes,
think that's a very Sunderland way of looking at something.
Burnley won it.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Interesting you mentioned that when we all talk about Wilson turning up in the big moments.
Yeah.
And he did.
Went a little bit missing there. It's
Yeah.
fine. We'll go over it.
Dave, you're the oldest member of the podcast, both the way you look and the amount of time you've been on the podcast. Uh, what's been your favorite moment of the podcast, apart from the fact that like you haven't passed on into heaven or hell, wherever it may be yet, because you're an old bastard?
Yeah, knowing my luck, it'll be somewhere in between the two. I'm glad it's not a visual podcast, because the way that Ross just revelled in that little retort from yourself was delightful. But funnily enough, that is one of my favourite parts of this podcast, is absolutely torturing him for living in that side of the water and giving him grief for being a Geordie. But my favourite part is the fact that I mocked his accent with custard creams, proper custard creams, like. That was definitely my favourite part of the season, although there has been many. And just, I kind of hope that everyone who listens to us feels the connection. We're all from different parts, but it's like every week I get to go to the pub with my mates, sit, analyse it, chat about it. Some of us take care in the tactics. Some of us don't give a shit about the tactics. It's brilliant, and I wouldn't change it for the world, to be quite honest.
Tell you what's been quite nice this season, and this is like I'll go a bit serious. It's been quite nice to have. I don't when I say unsubscribe, I mean it. I think people think it's like a mantra to actually try and force people to subscribe. I don't like. I actually really hate any sort of pressure or attention, but I love doing the podcast and I love talking about Sunderland. And it's that constant battle between the two of like, will you all just fuck off listening just so I can just talk to myself and record my own podcast for me and like another three people that are maybe me family members. But it is nice the conversations you can have, like when you go to the game and stuff. I always like get nervous, don't know what to say. Like I think my default when people used to go, I like the podcast would be, well, I hate it because that would just change the conversation into something different and we could talk about something else. But there's been a couple of points over the years. I mean, I think quite clearly they got diagnosed with something that was a bit scary about 3 years ago and didn't feel up to doing a podcast. But like the amount of messages I got and stuff like that from people was really nice. And like, it's funny. I think I had a bit of a mental health episode after the Leeds game. I think we all did, to be fair. And I couldn't do the podcast the next day. And I had like tons of messages from people being like, "Are you all right?" There's parts of it that I don't like. You know, I think I've spoke about it quite clearly how horrible social media can be at times, and there's times when I've just kind of gone, I don't want this, don't want to bother. But what keeps me going is like the banter's great. It's a good crack. I have a laugh. Like it is like the pub. I mean, I built a pub in the shed, haven't I now? So it like literally is the pub. But also, I probably don't mention it enough. There's a lot of nice people that are really complimentary of just enjoying it and feeling like, especially exiles, will say like, I don't have that pub, and it's nice to be in the pub. And I don't really get serious on this, but I think I talk an awful lot about the stuff I don't like and have a laugh. tell you all unsubscribe, but the ones that like do subscribe and the ones that do enjoy the podcast and are really nice and kind and normal and not reactionary and don't shout at me when I'm at the match or whatever. It's really I really appreciate it. It's really good because ultimately I just want to talk about Sunderland and like if we get 5,000 listeners then we're the number one podcast. Like I don't give a fuck. I never will. I don't think any of us ever have. And you shouldn't because this is not about being the best podcast or the worst podcast. It's about doing a podcast that you enjoy and having fun with it. And ultimately that's what kept me going the whole way through it. I enjoy doing it. So yeah, serious note. Let's say something.
Can I jump in on the serious one? Just one time before, Graham. There's one point you made there about the fans and about exiles. You know, and I mean, it's not like I haven't mentioned that I don't live in the UK. I've lived out of Sunderland for more than half my life now, out of the UK for more than half my life now. And one of the biggest things in societally in the world today, I find, is we are lacking like community. What we used to have, and this has certainly provided it. And while I think some people might need to think before the tweet or before the message on certain things, but overall, most of the people who have ever reached out or got in touch or anything like that on social media from doing this, I've absolutely loved, and it means the world to me to be able to have a connection, living in Berlin and being all over the place all the time with where I'm from, and particularly now I've got a kid as well that like. So that she might be born in Königs Wusterhausen in Germany. Our mother might be Chinese, and we might live here in Berlin, but she's still half from Hetten, and she's got no choice but putting the Sunderland top on and being able to have that, that community side of it. I love doing the podcast for that.
She's going to grow up to absolutely hate club football and love penalty shootouts if she's German, isn't she? Oh, it's penalties!
Well, the Shenhua Shanghai, who's our side over there, they're top of the league at the moment. So I'm hoping that she doesn't like hunt the glory.
And the glory just sometimes comes to you, and it comes in white stripes. Ross, you've got a hard one to follow here, mate, because we've gone all serious. We've gone all therapy again, proper like therapy sessions. So, look, I know you're a stupid Geordie. For the record, when we give Ross crack about being a Geordie, it's because his entire disgusting family are all mags, and that's just the way it is. So we just give him it all the time because he's a dirty mag bastard. So when I ask you what your favourite moment of the season has been, didn't it say the Carabao Cup?
That bastards, yes. Honestly.
Fair play. Your whole family's black and white bastards, and you've gone no. You're like, what would it be the black sheep or the red and white sheep in this case?
What's really weird about Ross, again, because it's not a visual podcast, I'll describe it for everyone. He's wearing this really, really minging half and half Newcastle Sunderland top. It's just like he's getting two tops and he's getting these misses to sew them together. It's really fucking weird.
Unbelievable, the shit I've taken here. I can't win. More moment of the season on the podcast for us. It is probably, I know it sounds daft, but after the Burnley game, because it's probably for the first time we thought, fuck now, we're actually quite good here. We might actually have a good team, and we think we've got a good manager in Reggie. And the two ones for me are the Portsmouth and the Burnley game, because after them games we were just so jovial. Like it was just like, wow, this is going to be something special, and yeah, really good, and obviously the custard creams. Picking our favourite food. We've had some rad questions this year. We'll give them that one.
I think the progressively more it became obviously playoffs, the more it was like, what kind of crisps do you like? Which is, it's kept us entertained. But look, we've been mad, serious, unserious, all sorts. But ultimately, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm not going to edit any of this, including Dave forgetting that he was on mute at the start of the conversation, which I'd normally change. We're going to go for it. Just leave it as it is. Enjoy Tuesday. Look, I said it on Twitter and someone said it was drivel. It probably is. That's kind of what I do. That's kind of my speciality. But I think you live for games like this, and if you're watching football and you can't get up for games like this, then I'd suggest it's maybe not something that you should follow or enjoy, because like football very rarely is at a point where you kind of get like hairs on the back of your neck standing up, and most of the time it's a 46 game season where you finish 15th for most clubs in Europe. To be fair, most clubs in Europe don't have success continuous seasons, and we haven't had success yet, but we've got a chance of success. We've got a chance to have an amazing night. And if we don't, like I've said it before, if we don't, which I pray we do, but if we don't, and things like they sometimes do with Sunderland, fart in your face at point blank range. You're going to be back at the Stadium Light in August. You're going to be supporting it, whether we're playing Liverpool or whether we're playing, I don't even know who got promoted from the division below. You're going to be at the Stadium Light. You're going to go with renewed hope, no matter what division we're in. You're going to go with renewed vigour. You're going to go with, oh, I think this season this will happen. You'll be fine. You'll be all right. You'll probably wake up. You'll probably breathe. You'll probably sigh. But if we win, you'll probably have an absolutely incredible night. Thanks very much, everyone.
Cheers, Graham. Yours going to be even better because you stood next to me for the match.
Oh, shit, aye.
On that note, see you later.
How will lads?
I'm not going to go anymore.